All right, attention all network defenders and sysadmins. We've got a Code Ninja security advisory for you today, and we're operating under high alert. We're going to dissect an active, unprivileged threat directed right at the core of Oracle Linux environments. My objective with this tactical intelligence explainer is completely straightforward. We are going to break down CVE 2026-35233. We're going to arm you with the exact technical knowledge you need to immediately mitigate this threat, protect your perimeter, and force necessary vendor patching.
Here's our mission protocol for this explainer. 1. The zero-day disclosure. 2. The comms check. 3. Defining the blast radius. 4. The protocol deep dive. 5. The patch and mitigation. And finally, 6. Ethics and sign-off.
Kicking things off with Phase 1, the zero-day disclosure.
Now, on the surface, the National Vulnerability Database slapped a CVSS base score of 4.4 on this one. Technically, that categorizes it as a medium severity threat. But look, as any seasoned white hat researcher knows, numbers can totally lie. The operational urgency here is significantly higher than a 4.4 might suggest. Why? Well, because while the initial attack vector does require local access, the potential endgame here is root context exploitation. We are dealing with a nasty out-of-bounds read in the Oracle Linux DTrace ELF parser. The exact moment a root-level process interacts with it, your system is heavily exposed.
To truly grasp the urgency, you just have to look at how ridiculously fast this threat evolved. On May 1, 2026, the vulnerability officially entered the public domain via the NVD, right after Oracle submitted the initial details. By May 4th, threat intel databases like Rapid7 had already integrated it. Literally 1 day later, on May 5th, NIST completed its analysis and Tenable operationalized the disclosure by pushing out active detection capabilities. And by May 7th, comprehensive technical mitigation guidance had to be forced into the public sphere by SentinelOne. 6 days, folks. That is literally all it took to go from public disclosure to fully weaponized understanding.
Moving right along to Phase 2, the comms check.
Consider this an essential security protocol. First, make sure you subscribe to @cybertech79 and enable those notifications. Honestly, I frame this as a safety necessity, because when 0 days drop, real-time intelligence is the only thing standing between you and a massive breach. Second, hit that like button. Think of it as your formal acknowledgement of receipt for this intel. It confirms the signal is actually reaching our frontline defenders.
Finally, I need you to participate in a quick census. Are you patched or are you vulnerable? Drop a comment right now and report your system status. Look, this isn't just for engagement. We actively use this data to gauge the real-world blast radius of this unpatched vulnerability across the entire community.
All right, let's get into Phase 3, defining the blast radius.
So if you're managing infrastructure, the targets at risk are pretty clear-cut. If you are running Oracle Linux versions 8, 9, or 10, your perimeter is currently vulnerable. That's the exact scope of our threat landscape today.
Let's define the core weakness here. CISA officially classifies this as CVE-2026-35233, an out-of-bounds read. In plain terms, the system's ELF parser is just blindly reading heap memory far beyond its safely allocated boundaries, completely bypassing any validation checks. It's a fundamental failure of input validation. It's kind of like, imagine a librarian reading past the final page of a book and accidentally reading secure, highly classified administrative notes left on the desk behind it. It opens a very dangerous door.
Let's get into the weeds. Phase 4, the protocol deep dive. Okay, during normal operations, when the DTrace utility attaches to a process for instrumentation, it parses the ELF binary safely. It expects a valid #link value, and that leads to a safely bounded memory read. But, and here is the truly ridiculous part, if an unprivileged attacker crafts a malicious user space process where that #link field contains an out-of-range value, the parser just recklessly trusts it. Seriously, it just uses it as an array index without checking a single thing. So the trap is set. The attacker simply sits back and waits for a root-level administrator to attach dtrace using a -p flag, PID probes, or USD trace points. The second they do, that unvalidated heap read is triggered.
So what's the fallout? The critical impact of this exploit chain really breaks down depending on how your system's heap memory is laid out. It might return uninitialized data, which causes a null pointer dereference. That crashes the privileged dtrace process entirely, giving you a denial of service. Bad, but it gets much worse. It could return a valid-looking pointer that's actually controlled by adjacent allocations the attacker has manipulated. The parser then dereferences that total garbage pointer in a fully privileged root context. And just like that, the attacker gets a highly coveted foothold for further exploitation.
Time for defense. Phase 5, the patch and mitigation.
But remember, before you patch, you must hunt. Here are your immediate indicators of compromise. Blue teams, listen up. You need to be monitoring your kernel audit logs and systemd core dumps. You are looking for unexpected DTrace process terminations or random segmentation faults. If you see core dumps originating from LF section header parsing routines, you might be actively under attack. Also, if you utilize active scanning, fire up Tenable Nessus right now and look for active hits on plugin ID 312205. You have got to correlate this execution telemetry immediately.
Once you've audited your systems, it is time to initiate the remediation protocol. Step 1 is straightforward. Apply the Oracle Linux Security Update. You need to deploy package upgrades like ELSA 2026-35233 through your package manager right away. Now, if immediate infrastructure-wide patching just isn't feasible for you today, implement strict operational workarounds. Step 2. Limit DTrace execution strictly to trusted administrative accounts using airtight sudo policies. And Step 3. Audit exactly which untrusted users have shell access, and absolutely avoid attaching DTrace to any processes launched by them until that patch is fully deployed.
Wrapping things up with Phase 6, ethics and sign-off.
Look, transparency is the absolute backbone of coordinated vulnerability disclosure. We don't analyze these 0 days and publish these deep dives just for sport. We do it because sharing this knowledge forces vendors to release fixes rapidly, and honestly, more importantly, it directly empowers you, the administrators, to actively protect your networks before an adversary can automate the exploit.
And that brings our Code Ninja Security Advisory to a close. Take these mitigation steps, apply those patches, and lock down your privileges. The predictive window has collapsed, and exploitation now follows disclosure in a matter of hours. The clock is already ticking on CVE-2026-35233. So ask yourself, is your automated patching fast enough to beat a 0-day sprint? Stay vigilant, update your systems, and above all else, stay secure.